Good afternoon, and thank you all for coming. My name is John Ballantyne. I'm the Executive Secretary Treasurer of the Northeast Regional Council of Carpenters. I'd like to thank all of our brothers and sisters in labor for being here today. The last time we hosted Governor Murphy coming out, we were joined by Governor Murphy, local organizations, industry leaders like Jack Kosis with the Association of Construction Contractors at our ribbon cutting on March 29th for our state-of-the-art facility here, which I would ask you all to take a moment in time after this and maybe get a tour, because this is one of the cutting edges of technology here for training union carpenters. Thank you, Governor, for returning for this very important announcement and executive order. We've all in this room in the building trades and within our industry have been strong advocates for years with reform for misclassification of employees. Misclassification occurs when companies call their workers independent contractors. They do this to avoid paying taxes, insurance costs, and payroll deductions. It hurts workers. It hurts honest, law-abiding businessmen that can no longer compete within our industry against such unscrupulous practices. It also hurts the taxpayer of the state of New Jersey and of the United States as well. In June 2016, Stockton University had released a study called The Underground Construction Economy in New Jersey. The New Jersey underground construction economy is estimated between $528 million and $1.2 billion, and involves approximately 35,000 workers off the books. Annually, $284 million to $528 million are paid annually in underground wages and under-the-table wages. Lost state income tax we recognize to be upwards of $11 million annually, and between $3.1 million and $6.7 million in unemployment insurance unpaid. On May 9th, I'm going to be with ROI of New Jersey on our panel with regards to misclassification. ROI in New Jersey expects more than 100 industry leaders and business men and women to be there to discuss this very important issue. Governor Murphy came in as a governor only a few short months ago, and with his conversations with our friends in the building trades and with industry leaders and with trade unionists, recognized how important this was to our industry as a whole. Today, he is offering a real solution that's already working in states like New York and also states like Massachusetts with regards to this executive order he's going to sign. Governor Murphy, on behalf of the New Jersey Building Trades, the Northeast Regional Council of Carpenters, your friends in labor, and on behalf of our guests that are industry partners, we'd like to welcome you again to the Northeast Regional Council of Carpenters Training Center. Thank you so much for choosing us to sign this very important order. Thank you, sir.
John. Thank you. Thank you all. Thank you. Good morning, everyone, and thank you all again for joining us today. It is great to be back, I guess about 5 weeks since we cut the ribbon. I want to thank, first and foremost, I want to thank our friends of the Northeast Regional Council of Carpenters, especially John, you as president, for welcoming us and me back to this fantastic, great new training facility. Again, John, thank you for hosting us so graciously. As I said, we were out here a little over a month ago to cut the ribbon and open this great center, and now we're back to ensure that men and women who hone their skills here and places like it around the state are paid proper wages and treated fairly in the workplace. It is also a pleasure to be here with our Commissioner of Labor, Rob Angelo. Rob, it's great to be with you. We will hear from Rob in a moment. Today, in a few minutes, I'm going to sign an executive order establishing the Task Force on Employee Misclassification to crack down on the unscrupulous contractors who commit 1099 fraud and cheat honest, hardworking people out of their rightfully earned and legally protected wages and benefits. Now, there's only one reason, and one reason only, why an employer will purposely misclassify an employee as an independent contractor, and that is to exploit that worker. and rob them of the wages, workers' comp, family and medical leave, unemployment insurance, and safe workplace protections they are provided, or they are to be provided under the law. In doing so, they unlawfully drive down costs to give themselves an unfair competitive advantage against employers who do the right thing by their workers and by the law. Misclassification is an unfair business practice, and it is illegal. Yet we have not had in place the critical means for cooperation and coordination among agencies to ensure proper and strict enforcement. A few of us John hosted a private meeting before coming down here, and I made the point there that I want to make again. This is not a question about we need more or better laws, although we're always open to that. This is a question about enforcing what is already on the books. And we're coming out of a period that we've done a lousy job. It hasn't been coordinated. Our backs have been turned on this illegal practice, and we're saying today those days are over, definitively over and done. Specifically, this task force will, among other things, and I'm just going to give you a couple of examples, examine and evaluate existing misclassification enforcement by all executive departments and agencies. And I say all. Rob's the most important player in our government as it relates to this as Commissioner of Labor. But importantly, labor can't do this alone. This is a whole of government approach. So on the task force will be members from among other areas, importantly, the Attorney General, who's all in on this, and Treasury. And that's something we talked about on the campaign trail and transition, and we're making good on that today. It will develop a set of best practices to increase coordination of information and efficient enforcement to that point. It will make recommendations on how to foster compliance through educational outreach to employers and the public. And it will conduct a comprehensive review of existing laws and practices and recommend any necessary means to improve misclassification, monitoring, and enforcement. And as I said a minute ago, this isn't about putting a new set of laws on the books, but if that's what it takes, Colorado is open-minded. We cannot build a stronger and fairer economy without strong workplace protections that ensure fairness. And through this task force, we will ensure New Jersey has just that. And let there be no doubt, if you practice 1099 fraud, we are going to either bring you into compliance or we're going to put you out of business, period. Before I close and turn it over to Rob for a few words, I got to acknowledge the Legislative Building Trades Caucus, including here today my dear friend Senator Troy Singleton, and a guy who's not here but is right beside him, Assemblyman Wayne D'Angelo, and all of their colleagues for their work to increase awareness around this issue over the past number of years. So Troy, thank you, Senator. I could acknowledge a whole range of folks in this room, literally. There are a lot of folks in this room that I've gotten to know and have been working with and who are born under the same star. I'll just choose to single out a murderer's row in the front row. Bill Sproul and Lizette Delgado Polanco from Brothers and Sisters from the Carpenters, Mike Maloney, Mercer Central Labor Council and Pipefitters 9, Fred Potter, Teamsters. Fred, great to have you. Rich Tolson, Bricks. Jack Kocius and John and I sat and talked about this on the day we opened this center, and we said, you know what, we're going to get at it. Bill Mullen, great to have you here, Mr. President. Ray Pacino and laborers everywhere, thank you for everything. Charlie, AFL-CIO, and I could say things about, is that Marlene back there? Marlene Caridi, our Commissioner of Banking and Insurance is here. Thank you so much. And by the way, and EDA czar, Tim Sullivan is right behind you. I mentioned upstairs, I should have mentioned here that Adobe is very much in this as well and needs to be. So Marlene and Tim, great to have you here. And to thank you all so much for coming out today. It is now my pleasure to introduce the Commissioner of the New Jersey Department of Labor, Rob Acero-Angelo. Rob.
Afternoon, everybody. Thanks, Governor. It's great to be here with you, President Mullen, President Wilcanic, Executive Secretary Treasurer Ballantyne, legislative leaders, thanks for having us here today. Today, we're embarking on a new era of workers' rights in New Jersey. It's humbling and inspiring to be here with so many of you who I see as my brothers and sisters, role models and mentors in this fight. I've worked alongside many of you for rights of those working in construction, nursing homes, trucking, restaurants, public works, and dozens of other industries where workers are at risk. All that time, we were so often stymied by an unresponsive government here and in too many parts of the country. No matter how many officials we met with, it was endlessly difficult to combat misclassification and all the types of labor abuses. It takes leadership from the front office, from the legislature, to have different agencies work effectively to protect workers. This leadership is so rare in capitals across the country. So I know that everyone in this room is as proud as I am that New Jersey is fast on its way to becoming a national model, not only on misclassification, but in so many other areas of worker protections as well. Thank you, Governor Murphy, for making New Jersey a national leader in these efforts. And I want to thank everybody here from the building trades and other unions and other workers' rights groups for shining a light on a problem that often goes undetected. Some employees don't fully understand their rights. Some employers think it's okay to get around the law by classifying their workers as independent contractors rather than what they really are, employees. This isn't just about construction. This happens in all industries. But construction unions led the way on this, and the workers in New Jersey will all benefit. At the Department of Labor, we have seen firsthand how misclassification adversely affects workers, taxpayers, and employers who play by the rules. Employers who misclassify workers don't pay into unemployment or temporary disability insurance, cheating their fellow New Jerseyans out of hundreds of millions of dollars in the state treasury. Misclassified employees also miss out on vital safety net programs such as family leave insurance, workers' compensation, disability, and more. Misclassified workers lose wages and often report to unsafe work sites. That's because unscrupulous employers who illegally misclassify workers don't have to worry about OSHA requirements to provide safe workplaces, since the OSHA law doesn't cover the self-employed. So in the same week that many in this room laid wreaths to mark Workers' Memorial Day, the action the governor is taking today will lead to safer workplaces and will save lives. We've already begun to brainstorm with national leaders in this space. We've met with our Attorney General. We've talked to some of his counterparts around the country. The governor mentioned some states before, the U.S. Department of Labor's Wage Hour Division, and OSHA to talk about a multi-pronged effort to end this problem, from increasing the number of wage inspectors and holding wage clinics to translating guidelines on workers' rights and safety into additional languages. It's clear that a collaborative effort with everyone in this room is going to be required. That's why we're committed to working with the governor's office, our cabinet colleagues, so happy so many are here today, and everyone in this room to make sure that employees know their rights and employers see government agencies working together to end this exploitive practice. Thank you.
We'll take a few questions. You know, one thing I was going to say a minute ago, and we'll take a couple of questions before we sign this order, is that there have been task forces like this in the past. I know of at least one. And Rob and I, privately, and then with John as well, we're speaking offline upstairs, is that we expect, and you should expect, this is going to have teeth. That this will have consequences for the folks who are not playing by the rules. And our hope, without making any promises, is to be able to put some runs on the board early as the equivalent of a 98-mile-an-hour fastball under the chin, so that we can early on make a statement here, not just in words, but in action. And I think timing is going to matter. That's why Rob's already working with the Attorney General and other parts of government to already begin to look at opportunities to make a statement about this. So with that, we'll take a couple of questions, and then I'd love to get to signing this, if there are any. Sir.
Congratulations.
Thank you, sir.
If and any, have you had any conversations with Governor Cuomo from New York?
Only generally. But we look at New York, and we've studied that as a set of practices, pieces of which we really like, and we want to pursue aggressively. But it's only been a general conversation. But we've become somewhat known for ripping off good ideas from other states and even other countries. So you should assume that we've looked very carefully at the New York model. Please. Hey, man. Nice to see you, Al. Yeah, well, I appreciate that. Thank you for that. Please.
You said on TV last week that you want to move into drum bracket, that there need to be some repairs done. Do you know what repairs need to be done? How much it would cost and who would pay for it?
As you know, Brett, I don't deal with costs of anything. Just kidding. Well, there's a foundation. You know what I'm going to do? I don't know the amount, but we're going to give you a personal tour of drum bracket, and you can decide for yourself. How's that? We'll put that on record. Yes, ma'am. I would bet it won't. I mean, it's already May something, but we're not going to sit on our hands. And by the way, it's not the reason we're doing it, but we think we can make money by doing this. We're doing this for workers. We're doing it for the good guys that Jack represents on the employer side. But we also think the state can be a winner here as well.
Given the generous contract you did sign with public employees, how much confidence should the public have in your willingness to confront them for another round of health and benefit reform, which I know is a kind of general consensus building that that's going to be necessary in the next couple of years, given the state of the health and pension law.
So I would just, Charlie, challenge a little bit the premise of the question. And I got asked this question yesterday, and people said, how much is this going to cost? The fact of the matter is we're still going through that. We just put something out to sort of give an estimate, and it's $140-something million. But you know what? Oh, and all in the budget, both in 18 and 19. You know what? More than half of that was making up for what my predecessor didn't do. And even in prior administrations on both sides of the aisle, even when there wasn't a contract, the steps were paid, even though there wasn't a contract. He neither negotiated a contract nor paid the steps. So more than half of the cost that we're estimating, and by the way, we're still working through this. The program realities are not something you just get entirely to overnight. Over half of it is making up for what wasn't done before we got here. And I want to make sure everybody knows that. We take these very seriously. We want to make sure working folks and their families are treated fairly again in this state, that this is a state where folks say, you know what, this is a fair place to work and to do business. But we also represent on our side of the table, we want to make sure that we enter into arrangements when we shake hands. It's something we feel that we can live with. It's within us. It's within our means. And we're committed to both of those objectives, and they're not at odds with each other. Maybe one more, David?
Governor, the 2% salary cap study, is that still going on?
To the best of my knowledge, and someone asked me this last week, I'm still looking for the report, which was due on December 31st. Half of the members put a report out, which was purely political. I'd like both sides to put it out. I chaired a commission a bunch of years ago, and it was not easy. You had people in that commission who were like this, but we put out a unified report, and I'd still like to see it. I think that is characterizing it politically. The reality is, I think we should want both sides to come up with a final report, and I still welcome it. We encourage it, yes. Oh, Jesus, Charlie. Give him a pen, Mike says. We'll deal that some other time. Let's get this thing signed, folks.